All right, everybody, we are back for another episode of the Coach's Compass. And as always, don't know what episode it is because we just continue to roll on and bring on guests each and every week all over the world. We're taking coaches to learn what it's like to train at a proper level and show these athletes what it's like to have proper coaching. Again, as always, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so we can continue to have this thing grow. It's your boy, Coach Coop, my boy Jay, reporting live all the way over here from Europe. And again, we got another special guest from us. We got my boy, Mike, all the way from New Jersey. Now, Mike is a trainer, bodyworker to NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, WWE, MLS, gold medalist, all pros, Super Bowl, NBA, and national champs, and much, much more, along with owner and coach of Freak Strength, straight out of New Jersey. So, Mike, welcome, and thank you for being here with us today.
My pleasure. And my last name is Guadango. I know you didn't want to give it a stab.
Nah, I ain't want to do that to myself. I ain't about to look crazy on here already. So, Mike, what's Mike doing in this industry that's setting him apart from the rest?
You know, I don't know. I don't know what sets me apart. Maybe my mouth. I talk way too much shit. I don't know. What sets me apart? I don't think I'm a licensed acupuncturist. Maybe that's what sets me apart. I'm really into body work. But I mean, a lot of track coaches are into body work. No, bro, I'll be real with you. I don't think there's much that sets me apart from many other people. I've just been doing it for a while. I made just as many mistakes as anyone else. I'm pretty, I don't want to say I'm run of the mill because I mean, you know, actually, yeah, I guess for a strength coach I am. I got the beard, I got the shaved head now. You know, I have pretty great mentors. I like learning. I wake up every day almost every day I wake up at 3, 4 in the morning and I just read and learn and learn and learn and learn. And then I go to work and then I hang out with my family and then I go back to work and then I come home and I put my family to bed. So I'm pretty fucking average. I don't know. There's not much that separates me from most people.
You make it sound so simple, but if you look at the track record, NFL, NBA, MLB, like we're talking about all these professional athletes, like they don't trust in just anybody, right, to work with them. Now they might just because they have the money to do it, but you talk about mentors. Who are some of the mentors that you've learned from and that you've taken and implemented into what you're doing?
Yeah, so I suppose my resume sets me apart from most people. But as far as what I do, you know, I don't know. We do some sprints, we do some jumps, we throw some shit, we lift, put it down, you know. And if things hurt, we try not to make them hurt so much. But you know, I started off. I have a very simplistic approach to most of what it is that we do. I think so many guys overcomplicate things. If we're training a field sport athlete, what's the first thing that they got to do? They got to run. They have to sprint, and it's not just jogging. You know, they have to learn how to sprint. So, in its purest form, how can you get better at sprinting? You got to fucking sprint, and too many people are trying to avoid that. And, you know, to compare it to lifting, if someone has their max weight under the bar and they try to squat it, and they grind it out. Well, are you going to rest a minute and then do it again, or rest 30 seconds and do it again? No, you got to rest longer than that. So when you're doing a max out sprint, it should probably be something similar to that because it's a maximum effort. It's not as heavy, but you're still putting max effort into it, so it's going to require some recovery. But if you're constantly, I don't know, working too fast, well, you're just training a different energy system. You're not training maximal outputs, right? So I think a lot of what I do is more intuitive, and it just happens to be scientific. But I think a lot of it's just intuitive training. When it comes to the bodywork aspect of things, we try to solve problems rather than just avoid them. You know, we try to figure out what the KPI is, what the key performance indicator for everything that we're doing is. So if someone has knee pain, like what's the lowest hanging fruit? Is it the quad? Is it the hamstring? Is it the calf? Is it the psoas? You know, it could be, is it the arch of your foot? You know, the plantar fascia? Is it the abductor hallucis of the foot? Is it the tibialis anterior? Like what is the issue that's causing that? We really try to get down to the root cause of whatever the pain might be. Or who knows, maybe it's all in your friggin' head. In which case, we just go for a walk outside. We go for a stroll. We talk about some shit other than what's going on. We come back in. All of a sudden, your knee feels fucking better. Like, who knows? But we try to do what's required for everyone to get the best results that they possibly can, while trying to keep it as idiot proof as possible. Like, keep everything simplistic, because when you're working with a bunch of kids, or a bunch of, not even kids, a group of adults, it doesn't matter. Like, they got other shit going on in their heads. You make something too complicated for them, and they ain't paying attention. They'll just fuck it up. So, we got to keep it as simple as possible for these people. I suppose that's what sets me apart. I keep things very, very simple.
No, I've been actually watching you since 2018 when you were on, what was that, Juggernaut Training Systems, and I know you've been with Buddy Morris. I know you've been with James DeFranco, and I feel you may probably honestly be like the most well-respected strength coach that we've had on here. What do you think it was? And I think me still in my learning, I think as us all in our learning, as we're learning as we go through the field, is like your ability to ask questions and your ability to seek knowledge. I think there's something I would love to hear for you to speak on that, and your ability to do that within your career development from being an intern to where you're at now, that was able to separate you, because there's not many people that were able to serve under a Buddy Morris and a James DeFranco, and I've seen you have conversations and Q&As with Cal Dietz. It's like to go down those routes.
I try to keep my student hat on at all times. I don't, but I try to, and I like questioning everything. I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic by nature. I shouldn't say by nature. It's learned behavior. But I really question absolutely everything, and it's always a why. Why? When I was interning for Buddy, I was always asking him why and what and how, and I mean, to the point where it was just fucking annoying to him. Get out of here, motherfucker. Things need to make sense to me. If they don't make sense, I won't do it. I have to know. I guess it's compulsive. I have to know the answer to things, and I have to understand why. The why is super important to me. Understanding why is like everything to me. So if I don't get it, I just keep asking, and I keep learning, and I keep researching. I went to acupuncture school because of Cal Dietz, because he started talking about RPR, and I was like, this seems like bullshit. I don't know, Cal. I don't know. Like, the way you're explaining this to me, I don't know. And acupuncture school is 151 credits. It's 9 semesters.
Yeah.
All to figure out like what the hell Cal was talking about. And, like, he and I, after I went to acupuncture school, I don't know if I had graduated yet, but he and I had him on the podcast, and we started talking about stuff, and I understood some of the things that he was saying. Like, I got how he was piecing some of the things together. I have to understand things thoroughly. So I suppose that that undying curiosity, the desire to just learn and to know, and I guess it's ego, because like I want to be the motherfucker that knows. I don't want to not know shit, and I like being the guy that people go to find answers. I think it was Anthony Bourdain. Caleb always used to love this quote. It's like a relentless curiosity. I think that's what he said, something along those lines. Like that's what I really strive to have. Like I just want to keep learning. Like it's one of my favorite things to do is just to learn. Like it doesn't matter what it is if it's useful to me. And I'm pretty pragmatic. So if it's useful to me, I want to learn as much as I can. I saw this TED Talk years ago where it takes 20 hours to become like average at anything. So if you just spend 20 hours on a topic, you could become genuinely average. So it's like, fuck, I could become average at so much stuff. So I just used to take Adderall and just stay up for 20 hours straight and just learn something in a single day. And then I'd do that twice a week, twice a week, and just learn new shit all the time. I just love learning. But it all had to do with strength conditioning. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why I was able, and I don't fail. Like I refuse. I refuse. One of the things that I tell a lot of people in the area business wise is if you're, be the last man standing. And I've heard this quote before: "I cannot fail if I do not quit." And that resonates with me. I think Alex Hormozy said something like that. "I cannot fail if I do not quit." It's like, fuck yeah, that's. I mean, bro, I have, I'm an idiot. I have death before failure on my fucking chest. Like I just refuse to fail. I won't fail. I won't stop. So if I guess if you just don't stop, nothing stands in your way. You'll just keep learning. And that's your goal, right? So I guess that's one of the reasons why I was able to. I mean, they've had lots of interns. I guess it's one of the reasons why I'm, 17 years later, I'm still able to be in the industry and be quasi successful.
Yeah, I mean, 17 years in industry, and you've been under some high level guys. What have you seen as the mistakes that coaches have made coming into this industry? How have you seen this industry change throughout these years?
So there's two aspects to the industry. There's a business side, which is more private sector, which is what I'm in, and then there's the strength conditioning side of things. So I'll speak to the private sector because that's what I'm better versed in. I have a brief stint in college sports. So from a private sector standpoint, from owning a gym, the biggest mistake people make is overhead. They get murdered by their overhead. It's the overhead is the biggest killer. Everyone wants the moon, the stars, and the skies, and all the sexy equipment. I've talked to multiple people the past month, talking them out of opening gyms. Because everyone wants to be like the guru on the mountain, or everyone wants to be like the guy that owns a gym. Like, I don't like people telling me what to do. And they don't know anything about business. Like, you need to learn business if you're going to own a gym. I think the biggest mistake gym owners make, I think the gym industry, gym ownership is the number 2 most likely to fail business of all businesses. Number 1 is restaurant industry. Everyone knows that. Number 2 is gyms. And every meathead thinks that they can run a gym just because they could pick shit up and put it down. So and the past few years, I've really dove down the rabbit hole of owning a business and learning how to operate the business. I think that's the biggest mistake that people make in this industry is they don't understand business, and they just bury themselves in overhead just because it looks cool or because they think they need it. They don't know what genuinely matters. I opened my first gym without a loan. I bought all my equipment used on Craigslist, and I still have most of that equipment. So I've trained over $1 billion in contracts with mostly used equipment. You don't need fancy shit. Just get results. Pick shit up, put it down, do some sprints, jump, throw some shit, get proper rest. If shit hurts, don't be an asshole. And you could do just fine.
And the greatest thing about this is, Mike, you make it sound simple. You make it sound easy. And I love that because you've worked with guys that, I mean, it's small percentage of guys that make it to the level of what have been on your resume. When you get these guys in, what is it like to get them started? What are you doing to kind of see their deficiencies or kind of know what you need to work on with these guys?
So it's to clarify or to hone in on what you said. You said make it sound simple or make it sound easy. It is simple, but it isn't necessarily easy, right? It's a lot of work, but it's very, very simple. Training is simple. It's not easy. You got to wake up every day. You got to do the shit. It's doing the things that majority of people won't do. And the bar to succeed is really low because people as soon as it gets a little bit hard, they kind of just fucking, they're like, I'm not doing it. So if you just do the little shit that no one really wants to do, you'll probably succeed. So from that perspective, it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. And as to what I'm doing with these guys when they come in, well, I've made a lot of mistakes working with athletes. Tons of mistakes, so many mistakes. And the biggest mistake that I've made with my high level guys is I take their word for it. I believe them. Because why would they lie to me? They're paying me. Why the fuck would you lie to me? You know? And they don't just lie to me. A lot of them lie to themselves. You know? And I need to, and this is the delicate balance of coaching versus business, is I need to meet people where they're at rather than what they say they want. Okay? And that's how you get the best results out of people. Like I've had guys come in and tell me they want to achieve sports mastery. And they want to be the best that there is. And they have the potential and the resume and the previous experience to actually have done it, to do it, and the ability. Like I've trained future Hall of Famers in multiple sports. And their actions don't line up with their words. So my job, I originally thought, what do you pay me for? Well, you pay me for accountability. I hold you accountable to everything that you say you want. You gotta, and I've lost clients because of that. I've lost athletes because of that, because I don't meet them where they're at. I take their word for it, right? And it's either too much pressure, or we're not on the same page. And why aren't we on the same page? Because I'm holding you to the standard that you told me you want. That's not necessarily my job. My job is to make you better. So that's something where I've fucked up in the past, that I know what it takes to be an all-pro. I do. I know what it takes. I know what it takes to go from nothing to make a team and to win a Super Bowl, or at least be on a Super Bowl winning team and to contribute to it. Like I know what it takes. I've trained guys that have done it. And I know what it takes to have a family and still succeed and be elite, because I've also had people that have done that and I've coached them through that. Where I fucked up was not meeting them where they were at, because they said that they wanted this, and my standard versus what they're capable of are two different things. So, especially with the professional athletes, like I have a guy that loves drinking wine and eating sugar cookies, and he played in the NFL for, over 10 years. Am I going to take that away from him? Why would I? Like the old me, well, that's not right. You're not being optimal. Fuck, he's not. Keeps him happy. Stayed playing. But hey, listen, gotta have chicken breast, gotta have protein, gotta have this, gotta have that, gotta be clean, gotta have organic. Man, like, let the motherfucker have his wine and sugar cookies. Now, if there's a problem, right, and this, you're allergic to shortbread and you keep eating fucking shortbread and you have fucking anaphylaxis, like, motherfucker, we got an issue we got to address. You know what I mean? But like, or like the red wine congests you and you get sleep apnea and it fucks your recovery, right? Like there's little things that, like, is this the low hanging fruit? And if it's not, like, I got to pick and choose my battles, because not everyone's willing to obsess over perfection, right? So just because you say something doesn't mean that you are. And I have this talk with a couple of pro guys every few years or so. I had this talk this year where I had to sit him down, and it was resentment for over 2 weeks with him that he had towards me, where I said, listen, you're not that good. Like, if you want to make a team, you have to do more than this, because you're not good enough to rely on talent alone. You don't have enough talent to rely on talent alone. Like, it just is what it is. You're not good enough because you're a pro now. And all these guys are just as good as you, if not better. And they're working harder than you. And I know that because I train these guys. So right now, you kind of fucking suck. And you're telling me you want this, but your actions aren't saying that you want this. And for 2 weeks, he thought about quitting training with me. But I had to have this talk with him. And this is a guy that I've trained since he was 13 years old, and he just started playing professionally. And he trusted me. And then later on this year, he's moving up in the professional ranks, and he shot me a text message. It was a quote from, like, David Goggins, like, man, you're a pussy because you don't think that you don't act the way that you speak. Like, you're not living up to your shit. It was essentially a conversation that I had, but all Gogginsy. And he was like, bro, this was the best conversation I've ever had. And there are guys where it resonates. And I mean, bro, I've had that conversation with Chris Hogan. Chris Hogan was in the NFL for over 10 years. And the last few years of his career, I said, who do you think you are? I said, you're a fucking diva? I said, bro, you are a white receiver that had Tom Brady. Who the fuck do you think you are? You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, bro, no one wanted you. You played lacrosse. You're a fucking Chad. Like, you know? And like we've had and he and I have gotten in fist fights, actual fist fights, where like I've had to beat the shit out of him to get him in line. And like this, but like he stayed with me and he was like, you were right. You know, like, bro, you don't run a 4-4, a 4-3. Like you, dude, you're a hardworking guy. You're first one in, last one gone. Be that guy. Like, you're not Brandon Marshall. Are you out of your mind? You're not Quincy Enunwa. You're Chris Hogan. You know what I mean? Like, get it together. You know, and like these are conversations, like real conversations that we've had. Now, I mean, do you know who Quincy Enunwa is? Okay, yeah, motherfucker is yoked. I trained him for years. Quincy is jacked as a motherfucker. He could roll out of bed and run a 4-3 and be powerful as a motherfucker, right? Like, so am I going to get on Quincy for taking his time through the warm-up or doing certain things? Like, no, you got to treat everyone differently. Like, it's completely different. So, like, I need to meet people where, and I'm really, my NFL crew, like, I'm very, very good with them now. Like, we get it. And like, I know, I think my Achilles heel is insecure people, right? And there's nothing worse than an insecure pro, you know, because it's like, you can't tell them shit. I had a guy that got cut from a multi-million-dollar deal. And he said to me, and I asked him, I said, all right. And he came in after he got cut. I said, well, what do we need to work on? Like, what's our weakness? And he's like, man, I'm good. I was like, I beg your pardon? He's like, yeah, I really don't have any weaknesses. I was like, why'd you get cut? Like, don't tell me you don't have weaknesses. Like, maybe you were overpaid, but you were overpaid because your deficiencies are too great to warrant that kind of salary. So, like, what's the deficiency? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? What are we talking about? You know, but like insecure guys, like I that's my Achilles heel because like I don't accept mediocrity and that's on me. So like I need to meet people where they're at. Was that a good enough answer? Like the long-winded answer to all this shit?
No,
We're here for the long.
Yeah, because that's perfect. And we're at our stages in my career. We're learning from guys like you. You know, we're sitting watching, but like, we obviously all we see is like what we see, but we don't get to hear like what is like, the gist behind it, what's going on, and like how you're getting these guys to buy in and kind of like, oh, like you said, meet them where they're at. But also, you know, how do you get the, you know, 'cause you get those elite guys that have it and they understand and they get it, come in and they know what they need to work on. They do it. And like you said, you have those Achilles heels guys, you have those divas, and you have those talks with them. But also, you know, sometimes they're still divas. How do you get them to understand to be like elite? This is what you need to fucking do.
You know, I think it comes down. The best way I can explain this is you can't get anyone to see God or to understand God. It's God's responsibility to get them to understand God, right? Like I can't save anyone. You know, there's only so much I can do, but they need to want it. They need to see it for themselves. It's like your buddy, you know, everyone's got that buddy who has the girlfriend that cheats on him, and you're like, yo, bro, she's cheating on you. You're like, no, man, she's cool. I promise. No, bro, I'm telling you, she's fucking cheating on you. And like, until he's ready to see it for himself, it don't matter what I say, you know? So like, as a coach, what's our job? Like, we need to help them. We can't tell anyone shit. We can't tell anyone anything. Our job is to put them into positions where they can realize certain things, right? That's what sprint drills are. Like, we see an issue and I could say, hey, get your hands up. But like, unless you feel getting your hands up, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Because get the hands up like this, get the hands up like this, like that, like what do you mean get the hands up, right? So I need to create drills for them in order for them to raise their awareness, in order for them to understand where they are in time and space, to get them to do it, but to realize it on their own. So I can't want it for them. I can't say it to them. I can't do anything for these guys. Now, I'm an over the hill dude that didn't amount to much, athletically. So like what can I do for them? Like I can't. So like even telling them, wanting it for them, like you can't. It's like I said earlier in my career, it was frustrating, bro. I used to text people non-stop. Like, hey, get this. I can't want it for you. I can't be your mom. I can't be your dad. Like, and that's a very, very, and listen, I mean, the divas get away with murder because they're so good. They're so good. Like they're, so it's like, well, how much, I mean, who's the best football player that you can think of? Name someone.
And you can say Tom Brady.
Okay, cool. Tom Brady. What the fuck can I do to make Tom Brady better?
I don't know. It depends on what he comes to you with.
All right, maybe if he's in pain, the best thing that I can do for Tom Brady is make Tom Brady feel like Tom Brady. The best thing I could do is help him feel like him. Because like, man, like how do I get you feeling like you? Do you not feel like you? When don't you feel like you? Okay, let's try to make that better. But like, what can I do to improve Tom Brady? I don't know. I mean, and I say this all the time. When I was first coming out, I saw Usain Bolt's program and I could have fixed it. Like the fuck do I know now, bro?
So when you get those athletes that come in, like, so is that how your programming is based around? What gets you to feel like the best you are? Like, what does that look like?
So when I trained Kevin Love, he's a player in the NBA. One of the things that I did for him, like he met me and he stood up. He's like, "Nice to meet you," and his back was all fucked up. So okay, well, I got to get him to not feel like shit. So we had a couple of sessions together, and he was working out with the Cavs, and I was at the workout, and he started dunking. And the one assistant coach came up to me and goes, "Yo, I haven't seen him dunk in like a while." He goes, "He only dunks when he feels good." And he came over to his coach. He goes, "Oh, I feel like me again." You know what I mean? So it's like the little things that we can do to help either alleviate pain or increase awareness so they can manipulate through time and space efficiently, right? So like with him, I did some Eldoa stretches and some body work and an extended warm-up, and it like was the moon, the stars, and the skies for him. With a Devin McCourty, when I trained Devin when he was playing, we had the beginning of his career was a substantially different workout from the end of his career. And it took us about like 40 or 50 workouts to like really be good to go towards the end of his career. So with him, it was like, hey, let's just get general work capacity in because he came in skinny at the end of the year. He could barely lift his arms. Let's restore range of motion. Let's get your arms at least to like here. Let's get good volume of training in so your hips don't hurt, back doesn't hurt, ankle feels good. We need to make sure all these little landmarks feel good. Everyone's different. Like Quincy Enunwa, we tried hiding his neck injury for the whole season, until he got the guaranteed contract. Once he got the guaranteed contract, we're like, oh, great. So like we figured out that when he would run with his hands open, he had shocks sending down his shoulders, like boom, 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 like every step, pins and needles would rush down his arms. So I was like, all right, how are we going to hide this? So we figured it out that if he just like held potato chips, like it was fine. All right, cool. So we run like we hold potato chips. And he got his guaranteed contract. We were good to go. And then he got injured and like he still got his 20 mil guaranteed. Right? So it's like, what do we have to do to make sure that these guys are and Hogan towards the end of his career, Hogan, I think it was his left leg or his right leg, one of his legs like substantially weaker than the other. Substantially. So like we did everything we could to make sure that leg was good. Earlier on in his career, we had to get a ton of volume in because he had like 8,000 yards a day in practice of high intensity sprints because he was on special teams and a wide receiver. Like when he was with the Bills, he was just getting beat the fuck up. So it's like, how do we expose you to as much volume responsibly as we possibly can to prepare you for what you're about to endure? I have a D tackle right now and he didn't go to OTAs. So like I need to prepare him for the rigors of camp coming up without him being exposed to the stuff that he did during OTAs. So everyone's different. It depends on what the goal is, and we reverse engineer ourselves from there. And then we just work backwards. What's your goal? Where do you need to be? This is what I see. Do you agree with this? Okay, cool. Let's meld the two together.
Now, you've been in the industry for so long now. And I mean, I've heard your school of thought on, strength, and sometimes I've heard your school of thought on speed or just rehabilitation. What are some challenges that you're facing now?
So you say I've been in for so long. I've been doing this for 17 years. I'm a baby. I feel like I'm a baby. I'm so young in this industry. I'm only 38. I've been doing this since I was 21. The challenge right now is I don't know enough. I don't know enough. Like right now, my biggest challenge is getting a hold of these elite coaches that I'm just trying to mimic. I'm fortunate enough to be, I'm currently being mentored by this guy named Rolf Oman. Rolf was on Randy Huntington's team of coaches. Randy Huntington was, I don't know if he still is, the Olympic coach, track coach for China. And he had Sue, who has the world record for 60 time, and he got him to PR at like 31 years old, 32 years old, after him like being over the hill at the age of 28. Correct.
That's the re-engineering suit? Yeah. Oh,
correct. Wow. Correct. So like, I'm trying to learn everything I possibly can from a Randy Huntington right now, and just like doing the best I can. Like my biggest overcome right now is trying to get in touch with that guy and learn everything that he does and mimic him as best as I possibly can for the next 4 or 5 years, and like get as much knowledge as I possibly can from him, Rolf Oman, a bunch of track guys, so I can learn as much as I possibly can. Our limiting factor right now is I'm not as good at data collection and data interpretation as I should be, because that's my limiting factor. Is like, how am I going to evaluate? How am I going to fix what I'm doing if I don't know what I'm doing? I could, I'm not quantifying anything. I need to quantify more so I could really improve everything. That's what I have to do. So I need to get different things to calculate different metrics or evaluate different metrics, and then figure out what works, what doesn't. I need to get in touch with people that are smarter than me more consistently, and keep them in my circle. And then also from a business standpoint too, I need to get better at business, because the only way I'll do this forever is if I make more money. So I have a responsibility to myself, to my athletes and my coaches, to make as much money as I possibly can, so I can do this as long as I possibly can. Like I have to do that. And from a training standpoint, speed, I need to learn more about speed. From a bodywork standpoint, I need to learn more acupuncture stuff. I need to get better at that. I'm not nearly good enough. I need to learn more pain management. I need to learn more rehab. I dove down some rabbit holes years ago of Postural Restoration Institute, PRI, some fascial stretch therapy stuff. And I'm not good at it. I know it. I'm not good at it. I'm not elite at any of this stuff. I need to be more elite. I need to be elite at all these things. I'm not good enough. You name it, I'm not good enough at it. So like, you say I've been in this forever or so long, like 17 years. I'm 38. I want to do this for another 30 years, 40 years. Like, imagine what I'll know then.
How hard is it to sit back and say that you don't know this stuff? Like, openly say that, like, hey, I'm not reading enough, I'm not good enough. Because, like we said, like, we say 17 years, and to us, like, because we're still super young in this industry, and we look at a guy like you, and like, we're trying to get to that level. But you're sitting here and saying, man, I'm nowhere where I need to be at. Like, I'm trying to be better than what I even am. And then also reaching out to, like, you think, like, I mean, we do it on a daily basis, or reaching out to coaches and just get them on the podcast, right? And we know how tough that is. How tough is it for you, like, as credible in this industry, to reach out to these coaches and actually get them to answer and coach you, mentor you throughout this all?
Yeah, bro. It's fucking tough, because, I mean, everyone has a life that extends outside of me. You know what I mean? Like, it's everyone has a mother-in-law, everyone has a father-in-law, like, the stepbrother, like, everyone's got, and all this stupid bullshit. Like, everyone's got a septic tank that overflows, like, all these inherent crazinesses that go on in my daily life. Everyone has the same shit going on. So like, have to understand that, like, this, I have to give people grace to understand, like, that I'm not high on their priorities. And even if I am, bro, people leave their kids in supermarkets by accident. Like, there's no greater priority than your own kid. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, shit, I can't believe I did that. Like, slipped my mind. Like, and they're not bad parents. Like, shit happens. You know what I mean? So, like, I get it. And you just have to be persistent. You have to be kind. You have to be gracious. And you can't be too much of a pain in the ass because you rub them the wrong way. And you have to have a give first attitude. Like, I have given way more than I've gotten in my life, and I am very, very happy to say that. I'm okay with that. And I've gotten a fuck ton in my life. I've given away hundreds of thousands of dollars of training. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of training over the years. Easily. And I'm okay with that. Totally okay with that. You know, student first, are always a student, and give first mindset, and eventually down the road you'll get what you're hoping for, I suppose, or at least you'll go in a direction that you need to be in. So, like, trying to find these guys, yeah, you got to grease a lot of wheels, bro. Like, I don't care. I'll pay, either pay with time or you pay with money. I'll pay whatever I have to do to learn from whoever I have to learn from. I don't care. Like, whatever the resource is, I'll fucking do it. You know, so as long as you have that mentality, like, it'll be fine. You know, and Dan Paff is an Olympic track coach who was always so amazing to me. You know, I'm just some meathead from Jersey. And he was always so great to me. And I remember thanking him. Thank you so much for being so unbelievably cool with your time. And it's so greatly appreciated. He goes, well, life's a circle. Next time a young coach seeks help him. You know, okay. You know, and that's what this industry is. And I mean, there's so much. It's wild. There's so much drama and bullshit in the industry too. Like, oh, this coach said this about that coach and that about that person, and this training sucks and that training sucks, and, you know, like, bro, I don't give a fuck. Like, you talk. There's a guy who made YouTube videos about me, and I think he called me shallow. Well, I'm friendly with him now. I don't care. I do not care. Like, and it's, you know, like, I want to learn from him because he knew enough to challenge what I'm saying. Like, okay, cool. Like, what? Tell me. Poke holes in what it is that I'm doing. I mean, I want critics. Tell me what the hell I'm doing wrong. And it hurts. Like, when people rip you, it hurts, but, like, it's how you get better. You know, so, like, I try to be as friendly with everyone and as helpful to everyone as I possibly can. Just because it's the right thing to do, and I know it'll come back to me at some point. You know? Does that answer your question? That was really long-winded and very, like, philosophical bullshit.
I'm here for long-winded.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfect for, like, why we started this, because, I mean, we look at what we do and we also see what others are doing here in Europe. Obviously, we're trying to mimic what we see what you guys are doing in the States and try to bring it over here, especially for, you know, American football. But not only American football, all sports over here. And it's tough because, you know, like, we've been over here, Jay and I have been over here since 2017, and you see the new wave of guys that come in, right? They're doing some ish, and you're just like, come on, bro, like, that's not kind of the right direction. But who are we to sit back and say, like, that's not right, or what's right from wrong? Like, we all had a starting point of, like, where we started at, and somebody else, some older coach was looking in the industry and saying, bro, what you're doing is not the right shit. But there has to be, like, a learning curve, and then we also had to drop our pride and be able to willing to, like, reach out and maybe lend a helping hand, or, like, hear why they're doing what they're doing. And, like, hearing that from a guy like you is like, all right, like, it's not only us, the industry does it, like, throughout, no matter where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's everywhere. And I say the only thing I'm married to is my wife. Everything else is strong opinions, loosely held. And I do everything that I can to have as little of an ego as I possibly can, but while still having enough of an ego to want to be the best motherfucker on the planet at what I do.
That's good shit, man. It's like so. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I wanted to ask you. I've been diving back into the governing dynamics of I think it's by Joel Jameson, the governing dynamics of coaching, and he speaks to kind of just like how a lot of occupations like doctors and cooks have kind of just like there's government that falls within, or like lawyers, where it's like every lawyer, regardless of the sector they go into, kind of has a foundational knowledge on everything, or a doctor or a cook, etc. And I kind of wanted to just hear you speak and give a long-winded answer about how you were just saying, where it's like I kind of do the same thing where I get away from strength and I dive back into it. I get away from speed, I dive back into it. Right now, I'm kind of more so I'm diving back into like the data analysis and measurement side of things. The strength part is always there. I think I heard you say it on the Joel Smith podcast, but it's like, what is it? It's like strength is as easy as falling out of a boat and hitting water. But can you speak to that? Because just like sometimes it's just like you get that imposter syndrome in strength and conditioning, because it's just like you can get into the combine stuff, you can get into speed, you can get into strength, you can get into rehabilitation, you can get into, it's just so much. And sometimes I feel like, just like you said, where it's like I feel like shit, I may probably in 10, 20 years by now, I may know more, but still feel like I don't know enough.
Jay, I fucking dig your shit, bro. That the governing dynamics of coaching or governing dynamics of sport is written by James Smith.
James Smith.
That's one of my mentors. He's phenomenal. Kudos to you for reading his shit, bro. That's awesome. It's like reading a fucking dictionary, but it's awesome stuff. It's really, really good. So what James talks about is the basal constituents of every profession, right? And the problem in sport is that the people hiring you, like if you're a lawyer, you know what it takes to hire, you know what it takes to be a good lawyer. Like typically only lawyers hire other lawyers, right? A law firm is run by lawyers. Doctors know what it takes to be a good doctor, so to speak. Doctors aren't necessarily being hired by people that aren't in the medical field. But coaching, where James says the issue is, coaching is hired by people that literally know nothing of physical preparation, right? So with the governing, and he compares the Michelin-rated chefs, right? Like all the, like they know every single aspect of the kitchen in order to be a Michelin-rated chef. But to be a good coach, you don't have to know shit about physical preparation. You could just be fucking lucky and have really good talent. You know what I mean? So to speak as to the rabbit holes and how far of which one you dive down, man, I learned about structuralism, and I was very, very good at structuralism with the hyperkyphosis, the forward head posture, the flat spine, the hyperlordosis, the scoliosis, flat feet, valgus, varus, all that stuff, right? And you look at Michael Phelps, who's a hyperkyphotic posture. How many fucking gold medals he have? 23. You look at Michael Johnson, who's hyperlordotic. That motherfucker had the fastest 100, 200, and 400 while running the 400. Like something stupid like that. Like don't tell me that these postures are going to give you cancer, because I just looked at 2 gold medalists, like insanely gifted athletes that have these 2 ailments in quotes. So I learned all about it just to think like, well, this is bullshit. I don't need to ever think about this again because of, like I'll never have to give it the time of day. But and you look at the best deadlifters in the world, guys that pull 1,000 pounds, they're hyperkyphotic. They're all rounded postures, and they all have forward head postures too. So how much does it matter? Well, to the people that it matters for, it matters. For the people that it doesn't matter for, it doesn't matter. Typically. Right? So you apply it, learn as much as you can. Like, enjoy the rabbit hole. You're into it? Dive down. Only if, let me backtrack. You need to look at your personal KPIs, what your limiting factors are. Right now, is money a limiting factor? Right? If money's a limiting factor for you, then you need to learn whatever's going to make you the most money in the shortest amount of time for what you're currently doing in order for you to continue doing what you're doing, right? We all have different KPIs. So like, Yeah, I mean, you could be the hardest worker in the room, but if you're fucking broke, like, it don't matter what you know. You ain't training no one. You're not even eating. Like, you don't have any place to live. It doesn't matter, right? So figure out what gets you to where you need to be. What's the lowest hanging fruit from every single aspect? Then, well, why can't I get people in the door? Well, shit, okay, I don't have anyone to train. Well, then you need to learn sales, right? Well, now these people aren't staying. Okay, you need to learn retention. Does your product suck? Does the environment suck? Are you not giving them what they're asking for, right? Like all these little things in order to get to where you want to be. So you need to make sure that the key performance indicators for you specifically to live the life that you want to live are all being met before you learn the stuff that doesn't matter. So you need to make sure that you organize your life in a way that's optimal for your existence first. That's why business for me was, my wife quit her job. We had a daughter, and she was made to be a mom. She's an awesome fucking mom. She's very maternal. She's not made for this modern day America. We're a traditional family. And I married a woman that was a teacher, and I thought, oh, cool, I have a pension. Cool, she'll always be a teacher. She could always do it. And she said, no, I want to work. I want to homeschool our kids. I'm happier at home. And she quit her job, and I was like, fuck. Like that's $2,000 a month in insurance. And then I had to make up for her lost wages, $3,000 a month of it for insurance, almost. And I had to make up for her lost wages, her lost income of $60,000. So I had to figure out a way to make $90,000 extra a year. So I had to learn business pretty fucking quick, right? That's my lowest hanging fruit. Like that was my biggest pain. So I spent the past 20 plus months diving down business because my daughter's 24 months old and my wife quit her job, in August for a September paycheck. So I was like, oh, fuck, so like I had to put a lot of training energy to the side, make sure that the financial situation of my household was stable enough for us to continue living our life. So like, you do what's required. You don't do your best. That's another Hormozy quote. Do what's required. So what's required for Jay to do what he wants to do at this juncture? Do you have the money? Cool. If you have money, all right, we don't need to worry about money. Then we need to learn. But figure out what your lowest hanging fruit is. So if you have money, cool. What are your clients suffering from the most right now? Like you might want to learn about speed, but you got guys in wheelchairs. Well, what fucking good is speed training? Now I need to learn how to be the best motherfucking wheelchair trainer on the face of the earth. Like that's real talk, Like it just is what it is. So you need to figure out what it is that you need to do in order for you to be elite, for as long as you need to stay in the game in order to be elite, bro. My one professor in acupuncture school, we were doing Needle Lab. I've told the story a million times. We were in Needle Lab, and Needle Lab is like this volunteer time that you get just to learn more. Doesn't count towards credits, nothing. It's just for people that want to learn more. And the dean at the school was helping us out. He was lecturing us, and he grabbed one of the students' hands. He goes, "Oh, he's evaluating his lower back pain, left side, loose stools." It's like, "How'd you learn that?" It's like, it's a family technique. You won't learn this here." I was like, "Well, shit, that's stuff I want to learn." He goes, "Well, you'll never learn it. I learned it from the masters." I said, "Who the hell are the masters?" He said, "The masters are the people that read all the original acupuncture texts before, Maoist China came in and burned all the books. Communist China burned all the books. They read all the books before they were burned." And I said, "Oh, shit." He goes, "The problem is they're all dying off." I said, "Well, why don't you teach?" He goes, "Oh, I'm not good enough." I said, "Oh, let me get this straight. You've been doing acupuncture for 25 years? He said, "Yes." I said, "You've been a dean of a school for 15 years and teaching acupuncture 15 years?" So he goes, "Yes." "But you're not good enough to teach your masters?" He says, No, I'm not good enough to teach what the masters know." I said, "You should come to strength conditioning because everyone think you're a genius." You know what I mean? Like, and he said to me, he goes, "In acupuncture, you spend 10 years learning someone else's, learning the ropes. Then you spend 10 years trying to figure some shit out for yourself. Then you spend another 10 years refining your techniques and really perfecting your craft. And then the last 10 years, you spend teaching." Bro, I'm not done with the second half yet. I'm 17 years in. Like I got a long way to go. And I plan on coaching for another 20 years. I like coaching. So like, how am I going to sustain life long enough in this area in New Jersey, which is super fucking expensive? Like, I'm in Bergen County, New Jersey. It's the second richest place in the planet. Excuse me, that's a lie. In the country. Second richest county in the country. So it's expensive to live here. But that's where my gym is. So like, how do I support my life to the point where I can continue the lifestyle here to have a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home wife, raise my kids? She wants to homeschool them, be able to support all that, pay for all that stuff. Like, well, I need to learn business in order for me to continue to be a great coach. It's just what I have to do. So like, you need to do what you need to figure out what it is you guys need to do in order for you to be in this industry for 20, 30, 40 years, if that's what you desire. Does that make sense?
we learned that it's not even like they were like the last thing we usually ask is like, what would be your best piece of advice? Because like everything you said today has been advice for the coaches that tune into this. You know what I mean? Like and feeling like, and also that dog mentality, like that desire to want to be elite, want to be great. Feeling that sense of like when you step out there, like you're great. Also having that sense of like drop the ego and be like learning from this, what piece is to like that to use it for something. And I think that's, especially for us younger guys, it's so important to hear and know and learn that like, man, it's never an easy road. It's never like, oh, I got it, right? Because you don't. Because athletes are always evolving. Like we have to evolve also as coaches. We have to constantly be learning what's going to work best for athletes and the athletes to come. Because like that next generation of athletes that comes through is going to be completely different than the generation of athletes that we just signed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's dope from you.
And you guys got to realize, like, you need to look at things long term. Like, it's not about this year. It's not about next year. It's not even about next 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to set myself? Where do I want to be? And how do I reverse engineer my life so I get to that path? Like, that's what it needs to be. You do it with your training. Do it with your life. Organize your life. And bro, like, it's ever changing. I remember saying, like, all I want is my rent paid for. All I want is my rent paid for. Just let's just make enough money so the rent's covered. And it's like, all right, well, you move the goalposts, so you got to change the goals. It's okay to move goalposts, but you need to understand. You need to start somewhere. You need to have a plan, and then like
just saying that too, because like a lot that I do on a day